Sup guys, welcome back to my Borderlands 2 tips and tricks video series, little mini series, just 2 parts of, just some tips that I want to share with you guys. So the first video concerned big topics, how to look at your guns and how to use them effectively, what class to choose, big things like that. This video will concern more of the smaller tips and some tricks that I've picked up while playing this game. So I have a lot of things to tell you guys and not a lot of time to do it, so I'm just going to get into it right away. This is a series of tips and some tricks that aren't in any particular order, so forgive the whole randomness of this commentary. So my first kind of random tip actually deals with playing with friends in this game. If you play with a friend or even have a full party of 4 people in this game, you will have a much better survival rate than if you played by yourself. Well, why is this? Well, it's not because of increased enemy health or, gun damage or anything to do with what happens when more people join the game. It's the fact that with more people, you are able to be revived, and this is a gameplay mechanic that is not in the game if you play single player. This makes the mechanic, even more important in a multiplayer setting. And even for an example, let's say you're fighting like 10 bandits, you have like a badass psycho in there and let's say a badass marauder. If you're playing with a friend or even 4 friends, obviously the number of bandits are going to change, so let's just not get into that too specifically. But if you get downed, maybe you would have been able to be revived by a friend rather than dying in single player because you're like fighting, this badass and he has so much health and you just can't take him out from your down position. So that's just kind of an example. Play with friends for that survivability rate, and yeah, it's just a big help. So my next tip for this game concerns shields. It is better to have a large capacity shield in this game rather than one with a fast recharge rate and a fast recharge delay. Well, why is this? Well, technically speaking, your shield recharge rate is much more faster than your health regen rate, even if you have any health regen at all. I know for a fact, well, I'm not really for a fact, but I'm pretty sure that Zero has no ability for health regen. If you have a large shield capacity, let's just give an example to explain this. Let's say I'm fighting a badass marauder, to use the marauder example again. If I'm fighting this badass marauder and my shields get completely down and they get destroyed just as I kill this marauder, I am able to then regenerate that shield much more quickly than waiting to get health regeneration if I had a smaller shield and he had cut in my health. Your health regens much more slowly than your shields, and it's just really good to have high capacity shields. A good example for this would be, once again, having a turtle shield. A turtle shield decreases your max health, but it is definitely worth it because in most cases you get more points of your shield for the amount of health you have to cut, and although this is sacrificing your health, it just makes up for it so much because your shields regenerate much more faster than your health. So that's just kind of my 2 cents on shields. My next tip is very simple, but it is a huge tip. Learn to aim for criticals in Borderlands 2. You have no idea how much faster enemies go down if they've gotten, let's say, like 2 headshots in a row versus 2 body shots in a row. You have to have the mindset that a lot of people have in like Call of Duty Zombies, where you're always aiming for the head. In this case, you have to aim for the critical spot because obviously not every enemy has the critical head spot in the head. So just learn to aim for criticals. It helps out enormously, and this may seem very obvious, but you would be surprised perhaps at how many people don't even have this mindset while they're playing Borderlands 2. So just learn to aim for those critical spots, and the game should just get monumentally easier. The next tip concerns leveling in Borderlands 2. So for those of you who haven't played before or don't know this, in Borderlands 2, enemies do not level up with you like they do in a game like Skyrim. If all I do is story quests in Borderlands 2, I will soon find myself out-leveled by enemies. So if I'm like level 17 and I just do story quests all the way through, then I will soon find myself facing like level 19-ish enemies. And that doesn't sound that bad, but when you're surrounded by, let's say, say 8 bandits that are like level 19ish and you're level 17, you will go down in a heartbeat. It's just instant. So my recommendation, and most people to combat this do side quests or grind out XP. My recommendation is to do 3 side quests for every story mission that you do. That should keep you well ahead of what you should be doing normally to keep up with these story quest enemies. So just kind of follow that general rule, 2 to 3 side quests for every story mission, and you should be good. Next tip is fairly simple. Learn to skip some ammo, guys. I know some people that are completionists, that have completionist playstyles, and this means that they will search every single freaking ammo depot in a bandit camp. Sometimes you just gotta learn to save the time, skip the ammo. You know, you can always buy from ammo dumps, and if you're looking for loot, you know, it's really a tough situation because it's like loot is awesome, but at the same time, if you really looked at the time you spent looking for ammo/loot, I think you would be surprised at how much time you could have saved, you know, just skipping all that stuff and continuing on with your day. So I mean, I would just kind of keep a mindset that you don't have to search every single crate/container that you find. And yeah, that's just kind of my opinion on that. So learn to skip some things, and once again, you should be good. Next tip I have for you guys is learn to spend your cash. Do not be frugal with the in-game money in this game because it's just that much more fun if you have, you know, good guns with you. And honestly, you are always gaining cash. You always find looted guns. You can always sell them. You are always making money. So just be sure to spend that money. You know, don't be frugal with it because money doesn't help you at all just sitting in your inventory. You have to put that shit to use. So yeah. Quick tip. The next tip I covered a little bit in the previous video of this little series, you know, part 1, and that is keep a corrosive weapon on hand at all times. You will find robots very, very often in the later levels, you know, level 17-ish to pretty much the end as you keep going throughout the story, and corrosive weapons are amazing against robots. They do so much more damage than the default weapons, so just keep one of those always on hand. It will help you out enormously, and yeah, another pro tip. The next tip concerns combat, and this is really if you're facing a badass or a couple of badasses in a combat situation. What you want to do is take out the small guys first, and this especially applies to multiplayer if you're playing with more than one person. Because if you take out the small guys, really their incoming fire is, I would say, really, really annoying, and it's probably more important than what the badass can do to you, being the badasses are typically slow, and even though they do pack a punch, you know, how often do you get hit by them versus the other guy's small bullets? So I would take out the small guys first in a badass situation if you're fighting 1 or 2 of them, and yeah, so that's just me personally, because I find that small arms fire very annoying, and I really find that it's really overwhelming if you have fire coming in from all directions when you could easily just headshot, you know, 3 of those guys and make that a lot less easier for yourself. So that's just kind of what I do in those type of combat situations. Another tip actually concerns items, and if you guys find a relic concerning vehicles, if it has like 50% booster capacity, 50% booster cooldown time, or something along those lines, I know I found a relic like that, and I regretted selling it, because what you're going to find is that in the later levels, you're going to get a little bit bored with the game, and you're going to want to derp around in the cars. So I wish I would have kept my relic that improved that, so that I could derp around, you know, even more in the cars. If you know what I'm saying, you know, that extra boost really comes in handy. So if you find one of those, I would just keep it in your inventory. That's what I wish I would have done, and yeah. Alright, so next tip concerns guns. My advice in this game is to not get too attached to a gun, you know, whatsoever. If you find an orange gun, you know, the legendary, rarest type of gun, that gun is gonna get shitty really fast. And my friend actually found an SMG, and I think it was at like level 9. That SMG, it was orange quality, it was amazing. But he leveled up 2 or 3 levels, and all of a sudden, it was extremely shitty. So just don't get too attached to whatever guns you're using, and especially with orange guns, do not get too attached to those and think that you have to use a gun based on its rarity. You have to do what is most effective for you, and you know that those rare guns are not always it, and whatever gun you think is good won't be good in a little bit. So just remember that, and you know, switch guns often, and you should be good. Next tip, and I actually did cover this in part 1 of this little video series, but I thought I would just mention it again, and that is that you are going to be using a lot of ammo in the later levels. This is mean that you should be using a variety of guns because, you know, if you run out of pistol ammo, well, you're screwed if you don't have assault rifles or something that uses assault rifle ammo. So my advice is to get ammo upgrades for every single gun type rather than just one. You know, if you're zero, don't just invest everything in snipers because, you know, as I said in part 1, a sniper isn't going to bail you out of a CQC situation. You're not going to be getting headshots, and snipers are pretty much at that point obsolete. So make sure to carry around all gun types and get ammo expansions for all guns. So those are my randomized little small tips, but I do have some tricks that I've picked up throughout playing this game. The first is to take advantage of Aimbot, and this really helps for taking out fast-moving targets, you know, especially those eagle things that fly at you. I believe they're called racks, and that is just, you know, taking advantage of Aimbot is basically where you just aim in and out, and you can, like, if you have a sniper rifle, you can literally half-scope, and half-scoping is probably more effective if you're not going for criticals, because the Aimbot just sucks you in this game, and because you're going against AI, like, no one cares if you're using aimbot. It just helps you out. Yeah, I mean, you're not going to hurt a computer's feelings, so be sure to take advantage of that. And, you know, if you see like racks flying, you know, you can just aim in the air in their general direction, zoom in, and you should like just be sucked onto them, and then you can take your shot, and you can usually take fast-moving enemies out that way, and it's just so much more easier. Another trick that I've picked up concerning gaining experience is actually, if you're in a car and you find, let's say, like a bandit technical headhunter in the dust. Let's say you're going against that guy. Well, you can basically take out this guy much more easily if you're in the car. However, what you can do to gain much more experience is basically finish them off with your gun when they're really, really weak on health, because if you do not know, all cars and enemies go off of health versus like effectiveness of bullets versus explosives. Like, you don't need explosives to blow up a vehicle. You can literally just shoot it with a revolver, and if it has low enough health, it will die. So what you do is you just simply get out of your car when this bandit technical headhunter, you know, insert enemy here, is weak on health, and you just shoot him, and you get much more XP that way because your XP is diminished in the car, since it is so much more easier to take out enemies when, I mean, obviously if you're in the car. So that's just something I've picked up throughout playing the game, and it's been very useful. My last trick concerning Borderlands 2, and this is actually more of a tip than a trick I suppose, is to save yourself a lot of time and activate all side quests as you see them. This may get a bit confusing after a while because you will gain a lot of side quests. However, the interface is organized so that each side quest is organized by location, and it might be even more confusing if you go on like a level 7 side quest versus like a level 15-ish side quest. That is the downfall of this system, but really I prefer to keep activate everything as I see it, so that I'm not always wondering if I can, you know, select a mission to go on a side quest if I need to level up more. And for me, I think it has saved me a lot of time, so that is definitely something I would suggest to you guys. So yeah, pretty useful. And that will wrap up this video, guys. Thank you all for watching. I always appreciate it, and I hope that you learned something from both of these videos concerning Borderlands 2 tips and tricks. And if you enjoyed the video, please leave a rating. I always appreciate that as well. And if you're new to my channel, I post a lot of Team Fortress 2, but I'm really into Borderlands 2 right now, so I'm posting some of that. And yeah, feel free to subscribe if you like either of those games, because I do post a lot of each. And hopefully I will see you in the next video, and peace out.